So I've recently purchased Sony's new PlayStation VR2 headset, and while there is a lot to talk about with it, there is one major complaint that I have that makes it pretty much unplayable. My issue with it is that one of my controllers refuses to work in any game at all. None of the buttons work, the tracking works fine, but I cannot play a game if it uses the Sense controllers. This bug has been here since launch, and it's currently a couple days later and Sony still hasn't provided a fix for it. And I must say it really did dampen my experience when I first bought it. I've had this console pre-ordered for quite a while now. I even left work a little bit early on launch day just so I could get home, get it off my porch and set it up. And at first, everything was great. The tracking worked fine, the room scale worked fine, see-through, setting all up, everything worked great. I was able to navigate the menus smoothly with both joysticks, no issues there. Everything seemed great until I opened up Horizon Call of the Mountain. Once the game downloaded, I opened it right up, went through some menus, and then I noticed that I had to push a button on my right controller, and it simply wasn't working. And when I looked at my hand, I noticed that none of the buttons were working on that controller. So I started up a game like No Man's Sky 2, and same thing, my right controller wasn't working. And so I had to go through all sorts of troubleshooting, was my controller broken, all this stuff, when I just wanted to play the games. Thankfully, I had Gran Turismo 7, which doesn't require those controllers, you use an actual DualSense, but it really was kind of a letdown. Now, I understand that, because I bought it at launch, I am pretty much a beta tester for it, but this seems to be a pretty widespread issue that Sony just simply hasn't addressed yet. If you go look on, different Reddit threads or Twitter, all the replies are people talking about how one of their controllers doesn't work. I searched through everything though, all of these, just trying to figure out a way to get things to work. People recommended turning them off and on again, hitting a little pin on the inside of the controller, hitting the reset, rebuilding my PlayStation database, clearing the cache. I tried all these things and nothing seemed to work. A lot of the stuff that seemed to work on other people's simply did not work for mine. And even among other people's issues, none of them seemed to be a permanent fix. Everybody had to do either something little every time they started a game, or something like that. That being said, if you're in a similar situation to me, I could show you one little trick that I found in Horizon Call of the Mountain that lets me be able to play the game. So right now, I opened up Horizon Call of the Mountain, and as you can see, the buttons on my left stick are working just fine, but I go ahead and try to press any buttons on my right controller, and they are not working one bit. So the one fix I was able to find for this was I go over to accessories in this little settings menu, and I'm going to turn off my Sense controllers, the VR ones. I grab a DualSense controller well in the game. You cannot do this while you're in the see-through mode, but you can use that to back out, and from here, if you hold down the PlayStation button on the affected controller, once they turn on, they will both work. So you just hold down the PlayStation button. Unfortunately, this hasn't worked for every game. I did the same method here in No Man's Sky, and it simply will not work. So this is basically just a temporary fix at the moment. Now, I've been having a great time with the game ever since, but it took me 2 days in order to figure this out, and it just happened to be by chance. I just wasn't doing something right. Something wasn't working. And every single time I open the game, I have to go through that process to play Horizon. And like I said, No Man's Sky does not work. I was also excited to go play that. As of the time of me recording this, Sony hasn't said anything as far as their Twitter or on their official page about this, but hopefully this gets enough attention in order to get a patch. It really is just a disappointing situation, because I want to see VR succeed. I want to see Sony succeed with this headset. But if people are having such major issues on launch day, even I almost returned mine after nothing worked. And I try a lot more things than I think the average person does when trying to get stuff like this to work. And with its steep asking price, it really shouldn't have issues like this at launch. It'd be like if they launched a PS5 and, the buttons on half the controller didn't work. It just simply is almost unacceptable. I'm shocked they didn't see this during beta testing. Even now, a few days later, it is really annoying having to do that every single time I want to play Horizon, and being unable to play games like No Man's Sky or quite a few other ones. It really is disappointing that they haven't said anything or just even acknowledged that it exists. So, best we can do is hope for a patch, but this really isn't the right foot that I hoped it would start on. Granted, I think that a lot of people have had a perfectly great first day and have had no issues. But it does seem to be a somewhat apparent issue as far as I've seen and in my personal experience. So hopefully I can do a full review of the headset someday. I'd love to go into that a bit more. But until then, I want to be able to properly play the games before I give any other opinions on it. So thank you so much for watching. This has been Jace from J&Z Productions, and have a great rest of your day.